Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are back again for the big match preview. It doesn't stop there. Through to the Champions League last 16, and then we roll on to Premier League football. And it's a big game at St James's Park on Saturday. I've got the boys here. Daz, Chris, how are you on this fine Thursday evening?
Thursday evening, that's the key. The key word there. It's almost Friday. We're nearly made it through the weekend. Yeah, looking forward to getting back to Premier League action now again, and having a bit of a chat to Mike as well. A great chat the last time. I liked where Chris has worn red. Is that just to intimidate Mike? You do this every time, Chris.
Do I? Do you know what? It's not even on purpose. It's no, I'm not here to wind Mike up. Definitely not. But yeah. Sorry, did you ask how I was, Daz? Or did you
how are you, Chris?
Sorry. I didn't want to start talking about how I was without you asking me. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, all good. Very, 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 very busy day in work, and then I've just come back from footy. But of course, I cannot miss an away days with Mike. Absolutely not. But yeah, really looking forward to the show tonight, and I'm intrigued. To hear Mike's thoughts on Saturday's game as well, because I think it's quite a big game, not just for Everton but also for us. So yeah, be interesting to hear Mike's thoughts on it. But Pete, how are you doing, mate? You good?
Not too bad. Really busy day. Just in from work. So yeah, busy day, busy week done, and yeah, look forward to finishing tomorrow for the weekend. But yeah, it doesn't stop if you're Newcastle United though. We need to keep rolling on. The wins have been coming, feel good factors been back, albeit that defeat against Man City. It's a big game, and big games need big discussions, and big discussions with Everton only mean one thing. And it's a pleasure to welcome back Mike from the Unholy Trinity podcast. So welcome in, Mike.
Welcome, Mike.
Evening, lads. How are we? I feel like I'm in a disco here with these lights. You see, stuff like this.
I felt like you're backing into the shadows a little bit. That's kind of how it felt like.
No, it's not a bit away from anything. You're joking, aren't you? Get me front and centre with those with the disco ball going.
Yeah, absolutely. But hopefully you're not front and centre on Saturday. I thought I'd get that in nice and early before we start. But look, Everton are up there in the top half of the table, fighting alongside many others. Not us at the moment. We're in the bottom half, but we aspire to be the top half of the table, fighting for European football. Look, just since the last time we had the conversation before our match at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, how have Everton fared like in recent weeks? Obviously, they had the narrow defeat to Man United at home on Monday, but just in general, how are you as an Everton fan finding Everton's form going into this game?
I mean, for me, we've been massively inconsistent, and that's totally understandable. I think the problem is because the league is so tight and because a lot of sides have been inconsistent this season, Evertonians, not all, but some, get a bit carried away and then think that because we are where we are, we're currently ninth, we've been up as high as fifth, I think, at one point, that we should be challenging for those European spots, and that's a real aim. It's a possibility, but I'd go back to the start of the season and I'd probably say that the aim was not to get European football this season. I think it comes far too early for us. I think, given the fact, we spent a bit of money in the summer, the first time for a good while, we were able to be fairly relaxed and not be looking over our shoulder financially. But there was a huge turnover of players in the summer, so there was always going to be this inconsistency. And we've had a bad injury run that came at the same time as AFCON, where we lost obviously Ghana Gay, did a man in Jai. We then get obviously red card for Michael Keane, misses 3 games. The same game, Grealish gets sent off for 2 bookings as well, so we missed a game. We've now got Grealish injured, of course. We've got Jacob Ryan sent off, who had to serve a match suspension against United the other day. Alcaraz is injured again now. But, we've had quite a few times over the course of this season where we've been missing quite a few players. So we've been very patched up. We've obviously had to go to certain games to think about Forest away, playing many players out of position. So we are where we are. It's explainable. For me, it's expected. I said I think we'll finish between 8th and 12th this season. Didn't expect European football. It's just the fact that the sides have been just as inconsistent as we are. That's kept us in the mix. And, 1 or 2 wins in quick succession throws you right up there because it is so tight, So I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I understand it. I don't get carried away. You get frustrated and disappointed at times. The United game, don't think we deserve to lose. The Bournemouth game, we definitely should have lost that game. But then you go away to Aston Villa and you beat them. So it's one of those where you have those kind of games. You go to Fulham, you beat them. So we're just one of those sides where we just can't get a run where we sort of get, say, 3 or 4 wins on the spin. And that's the thing. If we did, we'd be up there 5th or 6th. But I'm relaxed. I'm happy to have a watching brief in relation to the bottom sort of 4 or 5 this season. Makes a nice change for us after a really difficult period. And we're going to Saturday, for me, still confidence because our away form is very, very good.
Yeah, away form is actually better than the home form, which is unusual for teams in a season that they're performing better away from home, and we'll come back to that in a second. Daz, I'll come to you on that one because it's interesting that Mike says inconsistencies. Would like to win 3 or 4 on the bounce, but can't. Does that remind you of anyone?
Yes, ever so much. Yeah, especially away from home. But then in recent times, we've won a few away from home. We've turned the corner there in the last couple of games. But yeah, no, I haven't watched an awful lot of Everton in the last little while. I was keeping an eye on them when Jack Grealish was there because I had him in my fantasy football team. So ever since he got injured, I haven't really watched them that much. But yeah, look, they are doing really well. They're up there, like in the top half of the table, and you never know. It is a battle. If we were to win on Saturday, we would jump ahead of Everton. So yeah, it is an interesting one, and we need to get some momentum to have any chance of European competition next year. Unless we win the Champions League, and then we get a favourable draw tomorrow, and you never know.
You never know. Eddie Howe did say for us to dream.
Yes,
so
he did.
We dream, shall we? Chris, just as we talk about there, Everton's away form almost better than their home form at the moment, which may be understandable, being in a new stadium, etc., etc. But just what are you made of Everton? Since the last time we played them, but in particular those recent results. Mike ran through them. I'll just run through them again really quickly. So they won at Everton won away at Villa, then they drew at Leeds, drew against Brighton away, beat Fulham away, lost at home to Bournemouth, and then lost at home to Man United. Just really up and down and inconsistent. Like just what have you made of Everton in those matches? I imagine you've kept an eye on a few of them.
Yeah, I've watched a few. I've watched a few Everton games. Yeah, I do like to keep a close eye on Liverpool and Everton for obvious reasons. But yeah, no, I think Everton feel similar to Newcastle in the sense that they get some really, really good results, and then games where, as Mike said, games where you expect to win and maybe the performance deserves a win. When it doesn't happen, it's frustrating because then you look back, obviously, on the games where you have picked up the points and you think, bloody hell, if we'd got that run together, if we'd won 2, 3, 4, 5 on the bounce, which is why the likes of Man United are where they are, because they managed to string that run of results together, didn't they? Not quite 5 for the Al haircut, but one of those. But yeah, I think it's just been a season of inconsistency. Mike's already mentioned, they've been unlucky with suspensions, few injuries. Obviously, AFCON plays a big part too. But I think Everton have done well, and it kind of pains me to say that really, but I do think they've done well because, as Mike said, big summer. Obviously, David Moyes coming back, not quite sure what's going to happen. As Sophie mentioned in the chat, brand new stadium. So all these factors, when you consider them all, for them to be where they are and to not be worried about flirting with relegation or anything like that, it's credit to David Moyes for coming in and stabilising the team. Is there more to come? Yeah, I think there could be. It's going to be a big summer, not just for Newcastle, but also for Everton, in my opinion, because I think there's probably a few positions. In fact, Mike said it last time he was on. There's a few positions, where they want to upgrade and maybe add a little bit more depth. But yeah, I think in fairness, and I'm sure Michael will agree, I think it's been a decent season. I think if Everton finished the season now in exactly where they are, I think they'd be happy, and rightly so. It just shows, though, for me, how inconsistent the season's been. Because when you look at the table now, and there's teams you could argue probably shouldn't be where they are, and I'm not suggesting Everton shouldn't be where they are, but what I mean is, there's teams that are maybe overachieving, teams that are underachieving. The way the season's gone, it's been a bit of a one-off season for me. You could only argue really the likes of Arsenal and City are the only consistent ones, and obviously you look at Wolves, who've been consistently bad, and then it's been much for muchness everywhere else. But now I think Everton have done well, and I think it's going to be a difficult game on Saturday, particularly because of that away form. And they do have players. Let's be honest, they do have players who can punish you. The two that stand out for me massively this weekend are going to be Dewsbury Hall and Njai. Obviously, they're the two that I'm most worried about, if I'm honest, because I think Dewsbury Hall's a fantastic technician, and Njai can pull something out the hat at any point.
I watched your games, Mike, and particularly I watched the game at Villa Park. I watched the game at Craven Cottage. And you fully deserved to win both of those games. I thought you were good. One of the things that I noticed about your team in those games is how solid you were as a defensive unit. Is that the reason why you are where you are in the table, because of how solid you are defensively? But just what is it about your team that's made such an improvement for the fact that you aren't in that relegation battle, like you said you would have been in the last few years, to where you are now? What's been the biggest change at Everton Football Club?
I think, to be honest, for me, we've got better quality in terms of we've got match winners, which is really important. Before his injury, Grealish, I think he had 6 assists, 2 goals. But I mean, some of the chances that he created and the balls that he was putting in, I think we missed a fair few chances as well, so we would have had much better figures than what he's going to finish the season with. You've got a player like Dewsbury Hall, who's a match winner. I mean, you've seen him do it time and again. The goal he scored against Manchester United, scored against Forest, assisted against Forest in the same game. I mean, he scored a fabulous goal against you, which has been totally forgotten about, because for me, that's our goal of the season. If that's a winner or gets you a point, you don't stop talking about it. But the fact that obviously we got our backsides handed to us that day, everyone forgets about it, but it was a fabulous goal. So I just think having a bit more quality in terms of players who have got they're a bit braver than what we've had in the past. As I say, they are match winners. That really helps. Combine that with the fact that, defensively, I think we've got the 4th best defence in the Premier League, which is, is almost typical of Everton. I think, we've always generally been, a gritty side who defend pretty well. It's built on the backbone of that. So when you combine it with a little bit more quality, you're going to get better results. But saying that, we still lack quality as well. I mean, I think we scored 29 goals, which is really, really poor, for this stage of the season. We're not big goal scorers. We do miss chances, of course, but then sometimes, I mean, I look at the game against United the other day, and as much as Everton were the better side in the second half, there wasn't particularly many or any clear-cut chances. You look at what the goalkeepers had to do. He's tipped over from Michael Keane from, say, 18, 19 yards out. A couple at him from Harrison Armstrong and Tarek George late on. Other than that, he's commanded his area in terms of the corners and dealing with crosses. We didn't put him under a great deal of pressure or really work him. So the quality of opportunities at the moment, I think, with no Jack Grealish, who's a bit of a foil, obviously, for Dewsbury Hall and Njai, and gives them a little bit more space. Without him as well, you take away a lot of creativity. So we're having to find different ways. I mean, you probably saw the whole corner routine in the second half against United. It was like some kind of throw-in from in terms of rugby union. They line up on top of the goalkeeper on the goal line. They're wrestling, they're fighting, they're causing all kind of chaos. But it's almost as if we're trying to be a bit more effective from set pieces, and we're struggling to do that at the moment. And we should be good. We've got a huge side. You look at the size. You've got Branthwaite, you've got Tarkowski, you've got Keane, you got Jake O'Brien, you got Shane O'Barry, and you've got Beto, who are all above 6'1", 6'2". They're all massive. So Everton should be causing a lot of problems from set pieces, and we don't. We don't do that at all, or not as much as we should do, should I say. So we are trying to find different ways, but it's a slow build. It's a slow build. You know, we've got obviously another transfer window in the summer coming up. The talk is the owners are going to go quite heavy in terms of backing the football club. They want to move things on, but it was always going to take time for us to become a competitive side in the top half of the table, and we're not there yet. Nowhere near, in my opinion. There's plenty of room for improvement. But Everton on Saturday will be hard to beat. It's as simple as that. We'll sit and we'll be hard to beat, and then we'll see what we can try and do maybe on the counter with set pieces. Can we try and break it down that way?
Yeah, I think, and a few people have said it in the chat, I think it will be the battle of the set pieces, because we are very much the same with the likes of Dan Burn, whether it's Sven Botman, whether it's Malik Chow, Nick Baltimore. We tend to set up in the same way. I watched the constant melees in the back end of that game with you at Man United on Monday night, and it was just like pushing and shoving. It was 1 minute Everton were all cramming to the back post, next to the front post, then in the middle, and it just reminded me of Newcastle and what we've been doing this season. And I just wanted to bring this up, if I can, just really second. I just put this picture up. This is more for Newcastle fans. I saw this today on NUFC Edge. In fact, I didn't see it. Someone sent it to me. So I clicked it after I finished work, and this is Newcastle United from set pieces. So there's a lot of Newcastle fans that were hammering Newcastle for their set pieces, even during this season. But those stats there tell you that we are one of the most effective from set pieces this season. So you're looking at the goals, we're second with 14 from set pieces. Shots, we're first with 131. XG, second with 14. Goals, 37%, which is first. Shots, 38, fifth. XG percentage, 35% is second. So you're looking at those from set pieces. We are effective, and it has worked, regardless of sometimes they're not being great set pieces or being in. We've actually been really effective from it. So it is a battle there, and I think it might have been Genie Esther that put it in the chat. The size of your backline, Mike, is ridiculous, and it was interesting actually, because that was the one thing I did notice on Monday evening, is that Branthwaite was playing left back. In that formation, so obviously he's come back in and playing in a slightly different position. Is that due to injuries, or is that a system change, or is that just a position change that David Moyes has instilled in your team recently? But what's been the change to that? Because he was always seen ideally as a centre back.
Listen, he's the best centre half at the club by an absolute country mile. For me, if he wasn't injured, obviously he got injured in the pre-season friendly against Roma, only came back a few weeks ago. If he had a full season this season, he goes to World Cup. It's as simple as that. He's that good. I think I said it on the show before. I rate him really highly. He's come back in.
He could still make it.
Sorry?
He could still make it.
I don't think there's enough time. I think with Tuchel, as much as Tuchel, you know, he's been, I think, fairly good in giving players opportunities and going against the grain. I mean, one being Jordan Henderson, which is laughable, but we won't go there. But in terms of the manager, I think now we're at the point with England where going into a World Cup, we're only a few months out really. He's going to be fairly settled, I think, with the players that he's got from a defensive perspective. For me, I'd take him because he's left-footed, he's 6'5", he's big and he's strong and he's quick, loves a tackle, and he's a great footballer. So for me, even if you took him as a third or fourth choice centre half, it's ideal, I think, for that England side. I rate him higher than Mark Gay. I rate him higher than Conte. He's better than both of them. So I mean, obviously, you're always a little bit biased with your blue chips.
Better than Gay, really?
Yeah, he's better. Yeah. Don't be wrong. I don't think Gay's a good centre half. He wouldn't go to Man City if you weren't a good centre half. But he's overrated. For me. I think he's good.
No way.
I see. This is my vision. I potentially see in the summer Man City coming in for Jared Branthwaite, and their partnership will be Branthwaite and Gay. That's what I see. Whether it's got something to do with the Grealish deal, I don't know. But that was just what I've thought for a long time. But anyway, I think there's not enough time for him to get an England squad for the World Cup personally. But he's come back. He has played centre half, but then Mykolenko, I think, picked up a little knock the other week, so he played Branthwaite there. So it was when we went to Brighton, we played 4 centre halves. So it was Branthwaite left, O'Brien right, Tarkowski and Keane. It was like Land of the Giants back there. It was absolutely ridiculous. I think someone said that the biggest back four in Premier League history. I wouldn't doubt it for a minute. And I expect he'll do the same again against you. That's just, again, that's my opinion. But against United, Mykolenko was fit. He just didn't play him. So Mykolenko's not been great this season. He's been below par. He's never been the world's greatest left back anyway. I think he got, after his first sort of 18 months, he sort of kicked on, put a bit of weight on, put a bit of muscle on, and adapted to the Premier League a bit more. But I think he's regressed for me, and he's another player who needs to be replaced in the summer. So what he's done is, against United, he's played Branthwaite left back, he's played Garner right back because O'Brien was suspended, and obviously he's played Keane and Tarkowski. And for me, this is my only bugbear really from the United game. Don't move your best player from his favourite position for anybody or anything, because I think if you play centre half against United, they don't score. That goal doesn't happen for me. But he's done it. He'll do it again. I'm convinced he'll do it again at the weekend, because he likes to have that sort of size, strength, power across the back four. Obviously, he'll use it because obviously your set pieces are good from a set piece, so you want to have that height as well. But he's just got to play centre half for me. It's a silly thing. But I rate him that hard. You've said it before. I won't shy away from that. And I know people have opinions on Gay and things like that. But you've got to, when you watch a player week in, week out, you understand how good they are. And he's different. He's different quality to anything I've seen at Everton. And the only player that I can sort of relate him to is John Stones. And he's better than John Stones was at Everton. And John Stones went on. He's been a fabulous player. He's for England, for City, won everything. He could play central midfield, Branthwaite. He could probably play up front. He could do whatever he wants. But he is that good. And it wouldn't, as I say, wouldn't be surprised if come the summer he gets a big move. But we'll see. Obviously, I don't want him to. I want him to stay. But I can see that.
Boys, going to bring you in on the conversation. There's lots to unpack there. Obviously, the size of their defensive is going to be obviously a problem to break down. Obviously, set pieces are going to be a talking point. But then obviously, injury. Yeah, I'm here for it. Interesting comparison there. Is Branthwaite better than Mark Gay, better than Stones was at Everton? That's enlightening. What are your thoughts on that? Anything you agree with, disagree? What your opinion?
Well, just listen to Mike. I was just kind of my immediate attention turned to our own selection, and I was just thinking we're going to have an Eddie special here and see Lewis Hall sitting on the bench and shoehorn Dan Byrne like for like height wise into left back and allow Botman then into left side centre back. That's not what we want.
Don't speak into existence.
It's
not speak that into existence.
It's going to happen, I think, though. Now with all this talk of height and giants, and it's just very, very similar. Look on the discussion around Braithwaite and Mark Gay. I think Mark Gay is class. I haven't seen Braithwaite was highly. I haven't been watching him so much recently. Let's say, and then he's been injured for a while as well. But Mark Gay is class. If Mike says he's up there with him, I'm not going to argue with him on that. But Mark A is something special. Just pity we didn't, even though we weren't going to pay the 70 million that Palace wanted, or even more. It's a pity we didn't couldn't get him area or under the nose. There's just too much messing going on in directors of football and stuff at that stage as it was anyway. But watch out for that. That could be something that Eddie might try.
Chris, I'm just going to come straight to you with it. Branthwaite better than Gay. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with that? Do you not? Also, interestingly, the point that Mike made about Stones. Do you see Branthwaite is in the same mold as John Stones? It's an interesting comparison.
This might surprise Mike. So before I make his day, I'll start by saying the reason Jared Branthwaite's not going to be in the World Cup squad is because of Big Dan Burn, left-sided centre back, and I think Mike knows that anyway. But
the worst left-sided centre half and left back I've ever seen. Listen. I had to deal with like Guy Naismith back in the day as well, at left back and pistol.
You can't. No, I'm not having that, Mike. You cannot. You cannot compare Gary Naismith to Dan Burn. You cannot do it.
Similar ability. You know, that's what Dan Burn should be nowhere near the England squad. Let's face it. He's one of those. He's probably a good lad, and he's everyone's mate, and he's a laugh and a joke. He does that stupid dance and all that. So everyone loves all that. But he should be nowhere near the England squad. Let's face it. If Branthwaite, as I said, had a full season, Dan Burn would literally he'd be in Marbella come about the start of June. He'd be nowhere near that England playing. But listen, what can I say? It's just one of those. You have to take somebody as the entertainment, don't you? So to take it down there.
Just remember, Mike, really quickly. Just remember, you said this about Ramsdale and Jordan Pickford, and you know what happened then in the last game. So don't start with that.
Doesn't add the fact that Ramsdale couldn't catch a cold, so it doesn't need to change that fact.
I mean, you were right. You were right, but not in that game. You were not in that game. And I hope David Tolfer was right. I hope Dan Burn nicks in and scores a good one. But boys, carry on.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, do you know what? And again, I hope I don't get clipped up by Mike for this because I hope I don't get clipped up by Mike for Richie on this. But Jared Branthwaite is a very good centre back. I do think he's a very good centre back, and I think that Gay's been really consistent. Someone put it in the chat, and I agree. Gay's been very, very consistent, and I think Gay is a very, very good centre back. There's no two ways about it, and obviously his status rose because of the Euros, where I think he did really, really well for England, and that really put him on a pedestal. But I think if Jared Branthwaite had a full season in the Premier League against Mark Gahey having a full season in the Premier League, I actually think Jared Branthwaite would come out on top. He's 2-footed, he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's quick. He's 6'5". Do you know what I mean? I think he is a very, very good centre back. I'm not knocking Mark Gahey, but I remember, boys, and see, I mean, Pete, you may disagree on this slightly, but Daz, I can't remember your thoughts on it, but I remember, when the rumours were we'd agreed that 65 million fee for Mark Gahey. I remember thinking, probably get Branthwaite for roughly the same. So at that time, I remember thinking, we discussed it, didn't we? And I remember thinking, would Branthwaite be the better option? And I do remember thinking that at the time. Now, obviously, you fast forward 12 months or 18 months, whatever it is, and now you look and go, Gay's clear. But I do think that's because consistently he's been playing, and he's been playing very, very well, and he's got that move to City, and he's doing the business. And let's not forget, he's in a very, very good City side. But I do think there is levels to Jared Branthwaite, and I agree with Mike in terms of his ceiling could be higher than John Stones's. And again, John Stones has had a fantastic career. There's no two ways about it. But I do think there is more to come from Jared Branthwaite. It's just about staying fit. And by the way, Mike. Dan Burn is a good left centre back, not left back.
No balloons.
I'll have that. No balloons. I will have that, Mike. But left centre back, I do. Do you know what? I do think he should be in the squad, particularly when he's taken the place of like a Lewis Dunk. Do you know what I mean? He's got an ahead of Lewis Dunk. You could argue, would Jared Branthwaite be in there ahead of Dan Burn? Possibly, but I think he's earned his spot, and it'd be nice to see him on that plane.
Chris, don't talk Lewis Dunk into existence, man. I do not want to see him anywhere near that England squad for the World Cup.
No,
Honestly, I will give up all at home.
That would be ridiculous. Yeah.
We ain't winning anything anyway at the World Cup. But we're going to have even less chance if he's in the squad. And this is the point that I was going to say. Like, I was surprised when he said he won't make the England squad because, look, I rate Branthwaite. I think he's a really good centre back. I don't think he's as good as Gay, maybe yet. I'll put in there yet. And the big reason for me is that Mark Gay's been to a major tournament and done the business. Yeah, he was one of the sole reasons why we got to the final, because some of his defensive performances were unbelievable. That's what made me think that summer. And then obviously we tried to sign him from Palace that summer as well. That summer is what made me see him at that next level, because he went and proved it. Now, I agree with both of you, both Mike and Chris. I agree with both of you that he has the potential to be there. But when you're constantly injured, out of sight, out of mind, and he needs to be present for Everton, we need to be talking this time next year, and he's played every single game, and he's playing at a high level, and he's playing for England, and he's propelling Everton to a point where they're challenging for European football, and he needs to be doing that before I think genuinely for me that I'm going, yeah, we can put him in that conversation with Gay. That's kind of where I am right now, because Gay's already proved it. He's gone to Man City, and I tell you what, and I was talking to LB about this on 12th Man, and we did it on our match preview as well. That game at Anfield, he was by far my man of the match. He was the best player on the pitch. His defensive performance was unbelievable. Mark Gay was superb. And he's not only done it for England at a high level, he's now doing it for Man City. And I would be worried if I was you, Mike, about potential of losing him, because I do think that he's got that potential to be there. And you don't want to lose a player like that when they're on the trajectory. You want to still see the best of him. And I don't believe that you have. And I kind of think that you need another season from him, in my opinion. I genuinely believe you need another season from him. But whether you get that or not, it is another thing. But there was an interesting question from Genie Esther about that potential thing, because it had a bit of Grealish in there. I don't know, boys, if you can find that question. Genie Esther asked a really good question regarding that. We can maybe throw Mike's way.
Is this the transfer exchange? Yeah. Good one, Pete. Yeah. Tell you what, let's throw it into Mike now. So, Mike, would you take Stones and Grealish as part of a Branthwaite swap plus 25 million sent your way?
No.
That was the most monotone swap.
Nice and easy.
I'm not elaborating. No, I think the thing, as I say, that's been in my head, that there's something potentially in the waters in regards to Branthwaite, City, Grealish coming the other way. Obviously, Stone's out of contract, isn't he, in the summer, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's 31. He's very injury prone now, John Stones. Listen, fabulous career, fabulous footballer, but you can't bring someone like that in who's suffered the way that he has with injuries in the last, say, 2 or 3 years. So no, I don't think that would be viable. I think Grealish is going into the last year of his contract at City, if I'm not mistaken. So again, you're talking about values. I value Branthwaite really hard. I think he signed a new 5-year deal in the summer just gone. So the ball's in our court. We hold all the cards in terms of the value of the player. So I think it'd have to be a much higher fee if you're going to say you're going to send Grealish and money, because Stones wouldn't really form part of it if he's out of contract. So you can do that as a separate kind of free transfer anyway. But Branthwaite, as I say, his value is very, very high now. It's only going to get higher. And as I say, we hold all the aces in terms of his transfer. But I think there'll be interest this summer. If he stays fit, we know he's suffered with his hamstrings. He's a young player. Reminds me in that sense a bit of Jack Rodwell, who used to play for Everton. And he had
and Sunderland.
he was a lovely player, and he came through, and he was winning rave reviews, and we thought he's going to be, in our central midfield for years to come. And in the end, obviously, he moved to Man City. But even by that time, he was having issues, I think, with his back and with his hamstrings. and he never really made it, did he? He never really kicked on and became the player that he should have been. And I hope that Branthwaite doesn't go the same way, because he's had the same issues. I mean, he's bigger than Rodwell. He's tall, but he's also wide now as well. He struggled with his hamstring. When you're a quick player and your hamstrings start to go, or you start to suffer a little bit, that becomes a problem. But I think a lot of it with him is down to just growing. He's grown a lot, both in height and in width, in the last 2 or 3 years. So I think it's probably just a little bit of growing issues with him. He's had an operation, and he's come back now, and being back for about, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I think it is. Looked better every game, looked solid. His pace is there, his reading the game's there, his quality's still there. So, yeah, listen, if he stays fit, then he becomes a regular for England. Potentially he does move on, but I can't see him. For me, I think that this summer certainly comes too soon for the World Cup, but I feel it will be interested in him from certain clubs in the Premier League.
Absolutely. Just a quick one. We've mentioned Jack Grealish a number of times now. Am I right in thinking his season's finished? He's not going to be back?
He's done.
He's
done. He had a stress fracture in his foot, which he's had an operation on, and he's done for the season. So we won't see him again now.
What does that mean for Everton?
It means that we're still paying half his wages. What it means, he's not playing for us. So
he's not been sent back.
No, part of the deal was basically he wouldn't go back. So City, I think, pay 50%. We pay 50% of 300 grand. So it's still a lot of money for a player who's sitting there and not contributing. But I think the thought is there's a deal there to be done. There's a bit of talk that maybe City might sanction a loan for the final year of his contract, and obviously we must then pay more of his weekly wage, I would assume. But there's certainly a deal to be done. What's that? Sorry.
Want him back?
Yeah. I mean, if you get a bit more quality in the side as well as him again, and you increase that level once more, then for me, he becomes an even bigger part of that side. You got to remember that he's working with a lower quality side than he's used to at Man City, But he struggled, didn't he? He didn't play much football for City in the final 2 years, so that's also an impact. But at his best, with the quality he had at City, he was fabulous. He's coming at Everton. For me, done really, really well. Had a couple of moments where he's dropped a little bit, but I don't think he's been used to playing regular football the way that he has this season until his injury. He played a lot of football for us, not much for City in the last 2 years or so. But his quality is obvious. He occupies a couple of defenders. That gives space to other players on the pitch as well, which is really, really important. We miss him massively now. I think Dewsbury misses him more than anyone else because their link-up was really, really good. So to lose a player of his ability and quality is disappointing. But he's fallen up with the football club and the fans, and it's been reciprocated. So I do feel that there will be a deal done in the summer for Jack Grealish. But again, it's got to suit Everton. It can't just be a simple case about give him what he wants and give them what he wants. It's got to suit our football club. We can't make those kind of mistakes that we've made in the past, and we can't buy on sentiments either. But I think we will get a deal across the line in the summer at some point.
Hopefully for you guys with significantly dropped wages, that will be the sticking point, maybe. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's a top player. I thought certainly in the early parts of the season, I thought he was excellent for you guys. Really a creative spark in the team. But yeah, we've got a few more questions before we come to the tactics board and maybe talk a little bit more.
We have, mate, and one of the questions is in relation to 100 milli, as someone I know likes to call him, but Geordie Racer-Luke, and I love this Geordie Racer-Luke, who's been a member, by the way, for 15 months. Thank you very much, Geordie Racer-Luke. And he asks, Mike, would you take Branthwaite for 20 million in the summer?
Would I take him? I don't need to take him anywhere. Would I take 20 million?
I think that's what he's saying. Would you take 20?
It wouldn't buy his undies, so why would I be taking 20 million? That's a silly question. That now, come on. If you've been a member for 15 months, that's some sensible question. I think I have value on the
I had to ask that. Sorry, Mike. I had to.
Mike's walked away from any potential deal there with George Racer-Luke, I think.
And I kind of know the answer to this one as well, but I'm going to ask you anyway. And this is from Toon Old Guards, I think it is. And he asked you, Mike, How do Everton fans feel about Gordon now?
The same as we have done since he left the football club.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. Yeah, couldn't care less. He still does well though when he presents the horse racing. On ITV. He did a good job on that. But yeah, other than that, I haven't taken much interest. I just know he hasn't scored a goal. Was he in open play still, or the 12 month or sort of Premier League or something like that? Did I see the day? But he scored 4 against Karabakh, so he must be good, mustn't he?
Well, you say that, and at this point, I think those last two comments, Chris is trolling you right now, Mike. I'm not gonna lie, he is absolutely trolling.
Only serious ones now. Do you know what? This next one is a really good one actually, because
just before you put it on, I think it's an important conversation to have, but particularly with Mike here, is because obviously, you talked about Mike. He scored the 4 goals, and he's obviously, he's performing well, particularly in the Champions League this season. But I look, there's a lot on social media, but having a chat with a couple of lads in just random Newcastle chats that I'm in, there's a lot of hate for Anthony Gordon at this moment in the Newcastle shirt. There's a lot of fans that are really on his back, and some of it may be granted related to performances. Some of it just seems like there's just genuine hate for Anthony Gordon, and I don't know how to feel about that. I feel a certain way about it. I don't necessarily agree. Look, I've been one of Anthony Gordon's biggest kind of critics on the pitch, but I don't like some of the hate that he's getting. And the reason why I'm asking this to you, Mike, is because there's a lot of hate with regards to his approach to the matches, like his attitude, his work rate. And, there's been question marks about whether he's actually injured or not. There was a big talking point. He had a potential hamstring injury against Man City in the second leg of the Carabao Cup and went off. Some people questioned it. We certainly questioned it. We weren't sure if it was genuine or not. Is that something you experienced at Everton with Anthony Gordon? Certainly with the attitude and kind of lack of work rate, etc., etc. Is that something that you experienced? Because you've always said that you expected us to have maybe this opinion down the line for Anthony Gordon. What kind of was it? And is it similar to what we're seeing? Why are we doing this?
He looks good in the blazer, to be fair. Looks good in the blazer. Anthony Gordon, I spoke to you when you signed him. I think I came on the show, didn't I, when it was announced that you signed him? And I never held much animosity towards Anthony Gordon, and my opinion of him in relation to his time at Everton was very much sort of obviously the Lampard season when we stayed up against Crystal Palace. He took on a lot of pressure on his shoulders, I think, with him being a local kid. I think he felt he had to sign and get us over the line himself. And sometimes he just did too much. But listen, he contributed. But one thing he didn't have was an engine. 15, 20 minutes in, he was absolutely gassing. And he reminded me a little bit of Gerard Deulofeu, who used to have a player we got from Barcelona. He had bags of talent, Deulofeu, but he had absolutely no engine. He couldn't give you more than 10 or 15 minutes. And Gordon was similar. And I felt that, we in regards to his attitude, we only really saw the attitude side of things when that summer, so before you signed him, he was linked to Chelsea quite heavily. And the rumours were Chelsea offered so much, it was too low. Everton said no. And then from that moment, because he started that season, I think it was 22-23, he started that season pretty well, scoring goals, assisting, causing problems. And then once the transfer window closed and the move to Chelsea didn't happen, we saw a different player. And it was as if, he had his head turned and he just totally switched off. And then that then led to what happened in regards to going to you and not coming to training. And there was all little things that went on there. So I think it's hard because obviously he was a young player then. He's still a fairly young player now. So you'd think he'd be a bit more mature than he was and he'd learn his lessons. But as he had his head turned again, possibly, if he's getting a little bit of stick from fans as it impacted him, maybe. I think he believes his own hype. I think that's a problem. I mean, if you listen to the interview we did with Gary Neville, was it about 12 months ago on the Overlap podcast, and he was walking around with him, and he's a very confident person, isn't he? He believes in himself massively. But I think sometimes can overconfidence be misconstrued as arrogance? Yes, but then we don't know if is it overconfidence or is it arrogance? We just don't know. We don't know him well enough to say that. So it could be that. But people see that, you see, and they'll hang on that and go, well, yeah, look how we come across there. At the time, you probably all loved it. Oh, listen to the way that he talks. It's refreshing to hear a player believe in their ability. It's great for us. He was performing for you at the time as well. Whereas now, when he's not particularly performed on a consistent basis, you'd say, and he's having these little niggles, and fans then can twist that kind of thing and make it into a negative. But I don't know. I think the thing with Anthony Gordon is that he is a decent player. I don't think he's as good as he probably thinks he is in his own head. I mean, I've seen him think to Liverpool. That'll never happen. Just never happen, in my opinion. He's not at that level. Liverpool, I know they're having a poor season this season, but I don't see where he'd fit in with them. But it's strange, isn't it? We probably scored the weekend, no doubt. But I think the thing with him is the time will come. Maybe it'll be this summer if he has a half decent World Cup, that you cash in on him potentially. Maybe you sell him. But I think again, he doesn't do any kind of weights in the gym, and like he's very much sort of yoga and spirituality and stuff like that. So listen, each to their own. But for me personally, I think in this day and age, in the way football is, you can't neglect that side, because it's very much about he's got pace, but that power that you need as well, and maybe his body is not cut out for modern day football because he's not particularly strong. He's quick, but he can be bullied as well. And if you're not quite there physically, that's not a good thing. But he knows himself best, I'm sure. But I don't see his long-term future being with you. But we had this discussion before the first game of the season, and I said his level is you in terms, and that's not being derogatory. What I mean by that is I don't see him going to, say, a Manchester City or a Barcelona, or I see him being at a side on the periphery or within the Champions League, maybe top 4, top 5. But I don't see him going any higher than that. That's just my personal opinion. So if you can make a bit of money on him, then I'm sure that you will do.
Interesting, boys. I think it's fair. Fair assessment, Daz.
Yeah, no. Like, I had high hopes for Anthony Gordon this season. I thought he was come out of the blocks, and he did to a certain degree. And then he did that tackle and Van Dijk in the Liverpool game, and yeah, he hasn't done it so much for us in the Premier League. I know then was Barnes was kind of up for his position as well on the left, and he was scoring some goals for us, so he's kind of under pressure, and we're kind of should how we playing Barnes over Gordon. But then in the Champions League, he has turned it on, and he scored goals for fun. I know a few of them have been penalties, of course, but then yeah, like we did have question marks over him, especially when that incident that you mentioned earlier, Pete, about was he actually injured when he came off and we were getting bet by City, I think it was. I did kind of think back to what Mike had said before when he was on previously, and like, I don't know. I think if the jury's still out on him on the season as a whole, and I think he will go to the World Cup. If that's what he's been kind of playing for all season. And if he has a good World Cup, his head might be turned to go somewhere else further afield. And that's why I thought back to what Mike was saying on the previous shows. That he'll do the same thing to you that he did to us, is what Mike was kind of saying. And maybe that's the way we have to go with this one. But I'm enjoying him for the time being, and I'm enjoying him actually playing, even though I've always said he's not a striker. Even though he thinks he's a striker, he's not a striker. But at this moment in time, with the transfer window shut, he's our best option up front with the way we play and his pace, and he brings others into play. And with having Nick Baltimore playing deeper in a kind of number 10 / midfield kind of role, it seems to work for us. So I'd like him to kick on and maybe even get a goal this weekend. That'll be very interesting.
A goal would be nice, Chris. But do you think it's a fair assessment with regards to Gordon? Those top teams, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, I say Chelsea, but I'm thinking of teams that might be interested in some of the Liverpools. Is maybe not at that level that we are in our current state, maybe the ceiling that he has as a player.
Yeah, it's a really interesting. It's an interesting one because he probably could, in my opinion, get the move. Will he perform? Will he do it consistently at that level? That's up for debate. I think Mike is spot on, in fairness, when he says that Anthony Gordon rates himself very, very highly. And I think sometimes he doesn't necessarily portray that. My biggest frustration with him, and I've noticed it this season, because he spoke really well when he first joined, and obviously, I think he joins in the January, didn't he? And he had a bit of a struggle in that half season, and then the following season he was absolutely fantastic. But it's funny because he talks about being a mentality monster. I think he referred to himself as, and he's very like Zen, and he gets himself prepared for games and stuff like that. But it feels like anything knocks him off, and I actually think that is a key part of one of his weaknesses. Obviously, the rumors about him going to Liverpool, that didn't pan out, and apparently his head was all over the place, and it took him nearly a year to get over it, which I find odd. So yeah, I've been a little bit disappointed with Anthony Gordon, and I suppose my biggest frustration this season has been the fact that in the Premier League he's not looked all that great. But then he's come out in interviews and said, it kind of goes down to the eye test, doesn't he? He's performing exactly the same in the Premier League as he is in the Champions League, but I just don't see that. I just don't see it. I know he said it, and maybe the stats will back it up. I don't know. But that's certainly not what I've seen. And I suppose it calls into question a little bit of his character, because I do get the impression that he does think that he is better than what he actually is. And I do believe that he's already thinking about his next move. So my opinion on Anthony Gordon over the course of the season has changed. And I think we've spoken about it, haven't we, boys, in the sense that long term, particularly after what happened with Alexander Isak, long term, I'm not thinking in 2, 3, 4 years' time, oh yeah, Anthony Gordon will still be at Newcastle, because I don't believe he will. I would be surprised if in 18 months he's still here. I'd be very, very surprised. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think he could get the move, but it will be off the back of a good World Cup. He needs to continue to play well in the Champions League and have a good World Cup. And if he does get that, somebody... I mean, look at Chelsea, for example. Look at all the wingers they're bloody signing, like Gittins and Garnacho. Someone's going to be silly enough.
Arsenal have been heavily linked. Arsenal have been heavily linked as well.
Arsenal needs refreshing, especially on that left-hand side. They need it.
I'll just throw my 2 pence in. I think what you mentioned, Chris, about him taking a year to get over that failed move to Liverpool, I don't think he's over it. I don't think he is. I think it's taken him a year to get his head right to be fully focused on Newcastle, but I'm still not seeing a player that's fully invested in Newcastle. I'm not seeing an Anthony Gordon that's fully invested in Newcastle is what we saw in the first full season of Anthony Gordon, where he was fully invested, and you could see in his performances, you could see what it meant to him scoring. You can see the difference now. When he's scoring, he's more about what pose he's making and what sign he's making, and it's more kind of Anthony Gordon, the brand, rather than paying for the shirt. So you've seen him in the first season when he scores, and he's kissing the badge and he's giving it to the fans, and now it's all signs and gun salutes and all the rest of it to build a brand, because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to build a brand for himself to kind of, because when you've got a brand and you've got an image, that's what the big clubs want, because the big clubs see money with that and they earn money off the back of that, because that's what it is. And I absolutely see that in Anthony Gordon. Do I think he get his move? Probably. I think he would get a move. I think there's teams above us that would take him, but I think it would be a bad move for those teams. So I would take the money. Absolutely. I look at Anthony Gordon and I see bags of potential. I do see bags of potential. I still believe he could reach his full potential, but I think sometimes his attitude really lets him down. I go back to that West Ham game, lads. I go to that West Ham game away when we lost, and he within the first 15, 20 minutes, he looked at Wan-Bissaka and went, yeah, I'm winning this battle today. And he sacked it off. And that's why Eddie Howe dragged him. I think he dragged him at half-time because he knew he weren't up for the fight. In that Man City game, he was getting opportunities and chances. He was causing problems in that team. But as soon as they scored those first 2 goals, in his head, it was like, game's done, gone, off. And I'm going to say something now about Anthony Gordon. I feel like he's playing the percentages with Newcastle United.
Yeah, he is.
I think
he is.
I think he's picking and choosing the games that he turns up for. And that isn't good enough for Newcastle United. We don't need a player like that. Yes, he's got potential. Yes, he's a good player. But I think he's picking and choosing. And I think now, you know, boys, I've been saying this for about a year now, maybe a longer, year and a half, about Anthony Gordon. I called him out a long time ago. I think now more fans are starting to see it, that he's picking and choosing the games that he wants to play for. And it's very clear that his attitude and motivation for Champions League games is more than Premier League, because I believe he still feels that if we don't get Champions League, it doesn't matter because I'm moving anyway. And that's, I think, is his mindset, which I genuinely believe was Alexander Isak's mindset at the back end of last season. If we get Champions League, I'm not bothered because I'm not going to be here. If we don't get it, I'm going anyway. I don't really care. And that's why there was a lax attitude with him. And I feel that's why in the Premier League, there's a lax attitude with Anthony Gordon, because I feel he thinks that this is his last season at Newcastle United. And if he's got that attitude, regardless of his ability, off you go. Because we only want players that want to play for our club. And goes back to Mike's point originally, that's how Mike was when he left his club. He wants a player that wants to play for his club and give everything for his club, and not someone that wants to, just turn up when he wants. So that's kind of where we are on that. I know we
Mike, you must be loving this. It's all feeding into your agenda here.
There he is.
Where is
Melanie Martina there? Melanie and Martina. He definitely had that, didn't he? He definitely had that last season. That unbelievable. Yeah. But yeah. Listen, I think I remember, as I say, when he signed, I remember coming on, and there's a lot of talk about Anthony Gordon got chased out of the club because of his footage in regards to his car being chased down the Goodison Road after a game, and he got pulled, and he got pulled, and Mina got out of the car and spoke to the fans and things like that, and saying we chased him out, and that wasn't strictly true. By the way, I'm not saying that fans should be getting in, approaching players' cars and banging on windows and things like that. Yeah, but you see footage of loads of different sets of fans who go a little bit too far. But Anthony Gordon's head was long gone before then. As I say, when the transfer window closed in the summer, Anthony Gordon's head was gone. It didn't want to be there, and it was as simple as that. And his attitude wasn't right. His performances then weren't right. We were in a terrible situation where we needed everybody to try and pull together to get us through a real horrible time. And that was why Everton fans weren't too happy with him, because you could see it. You could see it coming a mile off. Once that window closed, he was a shell of the player that he was in those first sort of maybe 4 or 5 games of the season. So that's what was really disappointing. So the fact that it's maybe seems to be coming around again with yourselves, we don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it's not surprising, and players do have an image in the head of how their career is going to be mapped out, so players do think about the next move and what I need to do to achieve that. But there's thinking about it and, bringing that to the forefront and I mean, I hate this word, but manifesting it, horrible word, that, by the way. Don't ever use that word in your life. It's horrible. It makes you feel sick when you say it. But he's one of those he'll be one of those players who'll do that. And that's fine, but make sure your attitude is still spot on, because you're still getting paid a hefty wage. You're still representing the football club, and more importantly, the fans, because they're the most important people at any football club. And there's an expectation that when you put on that shirt, whether it be our shirt, your shirt, anyone's shirt, that you're going to give it 100%. And when you don't, and it's obvious, you're going to get called out for it, because that's you're in a position that's privileged, that we'd all love to be in. We all haven't got the ability that they've got. We'd all love to wear our own club shirt and fight for our club every single week. You're doing that. You're being paid a hefty wage to do it. Make sure that your attitude is spot on. And as fans, we're all right to call players out, in my opinion, in the right way, if they aren't doing that. And maybe it's gone that way with him now. You know better than I do. But like he said, and people are saying in the chat, it'd be interesting in the summer to see what does happen on the back of a World Cup. Do other sides come in and try and get him? Whether he plays well or doesn't, does a move happen over the course of the summer months? I think it does. But I'm on the outside looking in, and you'll know better than I do.
Let's wait and see. Guys, we've got 400 people in the chat. Great to see so many numbers in on a Thursday evening watching the big match preview. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click those like buttons if you're on YouTube. If you're on X, feel free to come over and click that like button. And of course, everyone, after the show, if you're watching it back, click that hype button as well. Get those hypes up because any exposure for the channel is a good thing. More people get to see what we do. I'm going to come to the tactics book because I know, Chris, you might need to shoot off soon to go and see Boyzone. But I'm just going to...
I'm not going to see Boyzone, by the way, in case everyone starts starting out pieces. The Avon thing was happening.
I'm joking. But no, we'll get the Everton team from Mike. We'll get you to pick your 11 of what position, formation, players. How do you think you're going to set up for the game at St James's on Saturday, mate?
Well, let's put the main man in goal first of all. Big JP. Yeah, Mark Savage is injured, by the way. Mark Savage is injured. So Tom King, fresh after his stint in Emmerdale, he's on the bench. So Jordan Pickford, he'll be in goal. So the back four is going to be, as I say, the four big lads for me. That's what I think he's going to do. I'm convinced of it. So Branthwaite will be left back, with Keane will be left centre half, Tarkowski right centre half, and Jake O'Brien at right back.
Laptop sticking at the moment. What's going on here? Might need a new one. Mrs. won't be happy about that. Right, the giant back four are in place. Talk to us then about midfield. You said Alcaraz is injured.
He's injured, yeah. I think he's done his quad. He was due to start actually against Man United, and he was working with them all week. And then I think that on the Sunday he got an injury. Hence why then Harrison Armstrong came into that left hand side. But I think obviously with Jake O'Brien being back, we'll then see James Garner get put back into central midfield. So it'll be James Garner and Idrissa Gana Gueye, no doubt.
I tell you what, I have to say, I know we've talked about Dewsbury Hall and rightly so, but Garner's had a really good season. I've seen some really impressive performances from him.
Our player of the season, mate, for me, James Garner. Our player of the season. I mean, he's played left back, right back, centre midfield, and he excels anywhere that he plays. I mean, he was our man of the match against United on Monday, you know, and he had a difficult task. You've got Cunha over there, you've got Mbeumo going over there. And for me, good battle with Cunha. I think he's probably saw at the end of it as a little bit of a scrap and what have you. But performed really, really well. And I think, you know, assuming that he stays fit, that's a very good comment. Very much like a sort of James Milner type utility player is what he's become, you know. But if he stays fit, he's only, was he 23, 24? He's a young player, just signed a new contract. I've grown to really like James Garner, and he struggled again with injury, but he had a back injury a couple of times over maybe 12, 18 months that really impacted him. But he's been pretty spot on this season in terms of his fitness. So yeah, very, very good player, very important to us. But he'll go back into the middle of the park. It's just a guy like he's been poor post AFCON. Really struggled. Struggled. He looks fatigued. I'm very much of the belief that now's the time that, you know, there's no shame in it. I think he's 35, 36. You know, there's no shame in now saying, well, we can rotate, especially the last 10 games of the season. You've got Maitland Rule, who's been forgotten a little bit. You've got Timmy Rabunam, who's had a decent season as well. You can slot in there. You know, Dewsbury Hall can play in central midfield as well in the 8. So we've got players there now that we can actually throw in there. He hasn't got to play every single week, but I do think he'll still start him because Moyes trusts him. Moyes likes him, which is understandable. But, you know, we can't be, again, sentiment shouldn't come into these decisions, in my opinion, but I think he will start at the weekend.
Mike,
go on, mate.
Just to ask, is James Garner got an outside chance of getting in the England squad?
Tuchel's spoken to him a couple of times. I would not be surprised. I know we said about Branthwaite before, but obviously he's missed so much football, Branthwaite, whereas Garner's been there all season and played all season. And Tuchel's watched him, I think, 3 times this season, and he spoke to him in the tunnel after each game. I would not be surprised if he does appear in the England squad in March. Yeah. Just have a little look at him, you know, up close and personal. I'm not saying he'll go to the World Cup, but if he's looking at maybe a couple of outside players, again, as you know, utility player, can play left back, can play right back, can play centre midfield. You know, you always need those kind of players. You know, if you've got a couple of injuries, you know, just someone who can play in a variety of positions. He's your man, and on form, he deserves a go. He deserves to be looked at. I'm not saying that he'll go, but I can see him being called up in March, to be honest with you, and I hope he is. He deserves it. But he's had a really, really good season. So yeah, what's this space on that one? I'd say.
Yeah, he has had a really good season. He has played really well in the games that I've watched him anyway. And it's interesting you said that centre mid, right back. I think he'll be in competition in England for another player of Newcastle United with Louis Miley, who's out injured at the moment. I think there was talk of him potentially breaking into the England squad, but I think it won't be long before you see both of them given a chance, because midfield is an area that I think needs improving for England. So bringing those 2 lads in that are young and got potential is absolutely something on the cards. But give us the rest of your team, Mike. What's it looking like?
What I want to see after United on Monday, Harrison Armstrong played on the left wing. Again, should have been Alcaraz, got injured, didn't play him. Against Bournemouth, Tariq George got the nod and he played against Bournemouth, got his first start. I think did a decent job. Came on against United about 20 minutes ago and made a real difference. He's so direct, he's so quick, he's powerful. He causes problems for the fullback. I want to see Tariq George on that left wing in front of Jared Branthwaite personally.
Okay. Tariq George in there, yeah, come from Chelsea, so yeah.
And he's somebody that we need to look at properly, because we've got an option to buy him in the summer as well. So let's give him enough minutes to actually form a decision on. But I like him. You know, again, young kid, but he's direct. He's a proper winger, and he frightens fullback. So for me, get him in there. You've got the quality behind you in Jared Branthwaite. So you know, in terms of you're going to have to cover, but you've got obviously that kind of quality behind you, so you can still be forward thinking, which is really, really important. Right hand side, Iliman Ndiaye, although he's come back from AFCON and not being great, he struggled for me as much as I think he recorded the most successful dribbles of any player in any match this season on Monday night. And I love Iliman Ndiaye, but I think he looked a bit fatigued. But again, I think with Grealish being injured, that impacts because he was taking players away and Ndiaye was getting a bit more space on the other side. So that has impacted. Dewsbury starts in the 10.
Yeah.
And I still think he'll play Tieno Barry up front.
Yeah. It looked like he picked up a little bit of an injury, like a shoulder injury. I know he came back on and played the rest of the game, but is he okay? Was it just an impact?
I'm more concerned with Sean Dyche showing as our manager than this question, to be honest with you.
Oh, I apologise. I apologise. It is. That's an old thing. I forgot.
He's been rehired and sacked again.
I apologise.
No, it's okay. Tieno Barry, he dislocated his shoulder right at the start of the season. From what I understand, and he's been playing with a lot of heavy strapping. It reminds me a bit of Jude Bellingham, obviously with Real Madrid, and he was playing on, but every single time he goes down on that, I think it's his left shoulder, he quite often stays down and the physio's on, and whether they're putting it back into place, I don't know, but I can see him having an operation in the summer. That's just my personal opinion, but he's playing with this dislocation of his shoulder, it appears. Obviously his ligaments around there are weak as well, but obviously, between him and Beto, Barry's kicked on a bit, scored a few goals over the last sort of couple of months. I mean, he scored a fabulous goal against Villa, fabulous finish there, where he dinked it over over Martinez. Obviously, he's got onto the scoring sale. Beto, I think he'd probably go in the summer anyway. So the manager would be keen to just keep Tierno Barry in there and get him ticking over. But I think that will be our 11. The only question mark will be around whether he goes with Tyreek George or he sticks with Harrison Armstrong. But Harrison Armstrong, he's been doing a disservice out there. He's a central midfielder. He's a very talented kid. I don't want to see him out there personally, but I'd like to see. Well, I'd like to see that side. I'd like to see us play with a left back and a right back, but that's the side that I can see at the weekend.
Yeah, similar shoulder injury we had with the best English left centre back, Van Burn, a couple of years ago. He also had a similar thing with a heavy strap on his shoulder. So it happens. It happens. But look, Chris,
listen, that shoulder injury's done nothing for his dance moves, has it? Jesus Christ! Look like one of those, those blow up things you put outside the shop to get people in.
Yes.
And one of them, man.
Yeah, the ones that are like that.
Yeah. Chris, go on. I'll let you jump in with this one with the Newcastle team. Be interesting to see what we go with, who's available, etc., etc. What's your 11, mate, for this one?
Yeah, I'll throw my 11 in and let you and Daz critique, and then I'll give you my score, and then I'll bail because I'll have to go and pick our sums up. But yes. So in goal will be Nick Pope, England's number 1.
In his own head.
Left back will be Lewis Hall. It better not be Lewis Hall.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
God for that.
Right back will be Kieran Trippier.
Okay, Trips. That'll be an interesting battle there between those two.
Yeah. I think centre backs, boys. I don't know whether you agree with this, but I think the centre backs will be Dan Burn, left centre back. And I think it will be Malik Chow, right centre back. So I think Sven Botman will miss out on this one. Holden midfield, Sandro Tonali.
Sandro.
I don't like doing 4-3-3 with Nick Voltemade in, but everyone keeps telling me that it's definitely a 4-3-3. Eddie Howe keeps telling me it's definitely a 4-3-3. But I do see Nick popping up in that 10, but that's by the by. So left side of the midfield 3, Nick Voltemade.
Yeah. I need to scroll up. Yeah.
It still feels weird putting him there, but never mind. And right side of midfield, I think it will be, or right side of centre midfield, should I say? I think it will be Joe Willock.
Ooh, okay.
I know. Ideally, I wouldn't put him there, but obviously, no Lewis Miley, no Bruno Guimaraes, I'm assuming.
And we don't know the story with Ramsey.
Jacob Ramsey, I think they were saying should be fit for this weekend.
I think Chris has paused, by the way.
Oh, lost signal. Lost signal in the moment. Do you want to carry on, Daz? If we've lost Chris with a front three,
if we lost Chris, can I change it up? Am I allowed to, even though he hasn't completed his selection? Can I change it up already?
If you finish the team, and then you can go back and make changes.
Okay. Well, also on the pitch, because I want to change it to I know Eddie Howe keeps it said it's not a 4-2-3-1, but I want to make this a 4-2-3-1 on screen here. So I wanted to bring Nick Voltemade into the pocket there, into the number 10 position.
Yeah.
Right. Bring Ramsey onto the pitch as well with Tonali.
Yeah. So like a double pivot.
Okay. I want to put Barnes on the left.
So I'm getting rid of Willock for now.
We're getting rid of Willock, for now. And
okay.
I'm putting Chris, you're back. Sorry, I'm ruining.
No, don't worry about it. I'm interested to see what you do.
I'm putting Elanga. Oh no, we're at home. I'm putting Jacob Murphy on the right, and it matters if we're home or away when it comes to Murphy. And I'm putting Gordon up front, Flash up front. If we were away, I would have put Elanga, but Murphy at home, he usually kind of steps it up a bit.
Chris, that front three, because that was
Yeah.
the front three that you'd not managed to choose at that point. Is that the front three you'd gone for?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is the front three. I think, as Daz says, with it being at home, I think Jacob Murphy will get the start. Yeah, that is the front three I'd pick. Yeah, I'm just not sure on Ramsey. I don't know whether he'll be ready. And do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because every time Eddie Howe, says a player's out, or there's a slight problem, it always turns into like weeks long. So maybe it's because I don't believe that Ramsey will be ready. If Ramsey is ready, I would absolutely have him in the team. But I've just got a feeling he's not going to be ready. I could be wrong, and hopefully I am. But yeah, I think that'll be the case. But boys, I'm gonna have to shoot. I'm gonna tell you my prediction anyway, and Michael will love it. It's gonna be 2-0 Newcastle.
2-0.
Yeah.
Enjoy boys on, Chris.
Up the mags, boys. Up the mags.
I love it. Top man. Cheers, Chris. I assume he's gone at this point.
He's very quiet.
Okay, yeah.
He's gone.
Okay. So yeah, would you change anything else in the team, Daz?
No, I would like to see Botman in there, but he's going to play Dan Burn.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want to see Dan Burn at left back. That spells disaster for me, especially in Dye as well. He'll get over his fatigue from AFCON pretty quickly, I think, if he sees Dan Burn there. But I think Eddie Howe is going to have Dan Burn in the team. That would mean Botman then on the bench.
It would. Also, in that, I'll add to what you said, Daz, is that I don't want to see a three at the back. That did not work at the last game of the season, last season at St. James's Park. It didn't work. So we definitely need to go with four. But I agree. I think that will be your back four. There's a little bit of a concern with regards to if it is George and his pace and trickery against Trippier, because we know he's not the quickest. He's an experienced centre back, right back, and he's played well in some games recently. But that exposure of pace is something that I think he's going to need to be aware of. I think Ramsey's going to be fit. I've got a feeling Ramsey's going to be fit and started. I just feel like they didn't want to take a risk with Ramsey this week and just give him a bit of time to rest. And I think he'll be in the team. I think him and Tonali have to be the double pivot.
Yeah.
If not, then I think it'll be Tonali and Willett. But I do think Ramsey will be fit. And I think Big Nick will be in that pocket, as you mentioned, Daz. The only one I would change, not that I think that this will happen, the only one I'll change is Murphy to Alanga. I think Alanga would be better suited for this game than Murphy, just in my opinion, just because of his pacing and behind in an attacking threat more so than anything. I actually think in the games that he's played recently that Alanga's been better defensively in tracking back, and he's got that pace to be able to do so. Obviously, final ball has not been there, but I think he is a threat whenever he does play. And he seems like he's building a decent relationship with Trippier on that right-hand side, and he's building a bit of a relationship with Gordon if he's playing through the middle. So they're just my thoughts on that. But I think the smart move would be to pick Murphy, because he does tend to pick Murphy at St. James's Park. So that's why I've not changed it. But
I'd be equally happy with the Lang in there. And yeah, he's ahead of Murphy for me. But it's just the home that we've seen something from Murphy at home where we never see it away.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Mike, anything that kind of stands out to you with regards to Newcastle's team? Where do you think you could potentially exploit Newcastle within the game?
I'm only surprised. I mean, obviously, I've not seen a great deal of yourselves in the last few weeks, but the likes of Johnson and Bruno were always automatic starters in your midfield. Then with Tonali was your three. What's gone awry there with them two, or is it just a case of it's rotation, because they haven't even been in the discussion there for me?
Yeah, well, the story with Bruno is he's injured. He's back in Brazil. He's had an operation, and could potentially miss another 10 games. Craig Hope said today. And Joe Linton, there's a case for Joe Linton to start, but then where would you put him?
He's just come back from injury, though. He's been out 3 weeks with a groin injury, and it's just a case. I mean, to be fair, there is an argument about Joe Linton playing. In all honesty, and actually, we may have overlooked him there, not putting him in the team because of his size, his height, and his physicality. Actually, it would probably make sense in him playing in this game. In all honesty, but question for you, Daz: like, if you were bringing Joe Linton in, where are you playing him in that system?
Yeah, I don't know. And did you even then go to put Barnes on the right and put Joe Linton on the left, and then he can cover back, or
maybe would you swap him for Big Nick?
No,
and play him in that position. So you got you got Joe Linton, Tonali, Ramsey. Would you do that? I mean, that's potentially another option.
Well,
go on. Sorry.
Only if you were concerned about that Big Nick needs a bit of a break or something, but he did come off in that game, Champions League game. So I know his creativity and the link up with Gordon, I think, we can get something creative. I think having Joe Linton coming off the bench is a great option as well, though. And he can slot into a number of positions then as well. So, and we're usually get an early yellow card from Joe Linton. He's trying to manage the rest of the game out, going about it the other way. Let's get him on in the second half, and hopefully he doesn't get sent off.
That is true. I just wouldn't have him in this position here.
No,
just because I wouldn't have him in a double pivot, because I just don't think he can play that position. In my opinion, I think he's good in the 3, but not in a 2, because he doesn't keep his position as well. But playing in the 3 allows him to roam and be free and not necessarily have to keep position. So that's why I'd want a Ramsey or failing that, a Willett to be playing in that spot. Obviously, ideally Bruno, but he's not, as you mentioned, he's not fit. But the rest of the team, I think, is as is. Just a real quick one, Mike, just before we come off the tactics board. Obviously, fans that like talking about their own kind of deficiencies and areas of weakness, but where is an area of weakness that maybe Newcastle could exploit on Saturday?
Tarkowski and Keane. Need to say more. And to be honest with you, it's not. I mean, Michael Keane's probably had a better season than Tarkowski. Tarkowski, I don't know whether age has caught up to him a little bit this season. I mean, if you see United's goal, I'm not sure what he was doing, why he was so far up the pitch, because he left Michael Keane on his own. The position was terrible. I mean, Šeško's done him for pace. I've never ever seen Šeško run that fast in my life, and I don't think he was. I just think because Tarkowski was that slow, he looked like he was running really fast, but he just couldn't recover. And that's what I said. If Branthwaite was there, who brings organisation alongside many other things as well, doing the goal happens. Obviously, Branthwaite was playing left back and he's pushed up, waiting for the ball to come to the back post. We were doing that quite often, because obviously he's so tall. But yeah, I think centre half is an issue. Even if they were both playing all right, there's not much pace there. So if you've got the likes of Gordon, for example, who we know has got bags of pace, Barnes cutting in, Jacob Murphy cutting in, even like Voltemade in the game at Hill Dickinson causes massive problems as well. That's a real sticking point for me. But I mean, the way that we'll go about it anyway will be we will sit fairly deep and we'll look to break on the counter. So if you're playing with George and Jai, Dewsbury, you got a bit of pace there to be able to do that. So I do think anyway there's going to be quite a bit of cover in there. So Garner Gay or James Garner will sit in front of those 2 centre halves. Branthwaite will tuck in, O'Brien will tuck in as well, and make it almost like 4 centre halves, if you like, which it is, but it'll be fairly narrow in that sense to give a bit more protection to those 2 lads. But that is a concern, is when those 2 play together, because the pace just isn't there. And as I say, I think the age of Tarkowski now as well, this has been probably the first time in the last few months I've watched him and thought, yeah, age has caught up with you a little bit. So when we go into next season, I think he's got another year left because we give him a 2-year deal. I don't see him starting personally, and I wouldn't do. But yeah, that's a problem. If Gordon plays on the shoulder, they ain't gonna catch him.
Yeah, interesting one to keep an eye on, Daz, for the game on Saturday. That is for sure. Couple of questions before we come to predictions and wrap. I know there was some good questions coming in the chat.
There is. I filtered some of them, so we'll narrow it down a bit. Question for Mike. What's your thoughts on Harrison Armstrong, and what's his best position in your opinion? I think you were putting him on the left wing, were you, there a second ago?
That's not his best position, though. That's just where David Moyes puts him. So he's played left wing and he's played right wing, but he's also played centre as well. Now bear in mind, we recalled him from his loan at Preston at the start of January because we were so short of players, and the idea was to send him back to Preston at the end of January. It didn't happen because Jack Grealish got injured, so he wanted to keep obviously another body there. And if you're going to keep him there, you're going to have to give him minutes, because otherwise it's a waste of time, because he could have been playing like a first team football at Preston. For me, Harrison Armstrong, he plays in the middle of the park. We can carry the ball well. He can sit deep. He loves to tackle. He's a very talented footballer. He's got all the attributes. He's played in the 10 as well. Thinking back to the start of the season against Mansfield in the Cup, he played in the 10. He's done it last season as well when he got a few minutes at Goodison against, I think it was Peterborough in the FA Cup. So he's one of those players who, I think, 19 years of age now. He's a real talented kid. He's had a couple of loan spells with Derby and Preston and done particularly well there. He's come back. He's contributed. I just think it just does him a disservice playing him on either wing, because he's not a winger. But I think he did okay against United, to be fair. But he's not a winger. So naturally, he hasn't got that in his locker. He needs to be playing in the middle of the park. And he's a good player. He's going to go on to have a fabulous career, hopefully for us. As I say, very, very young. A lot of growing to do as well physically. But all the attributes to be a top player.
Sticking with youth, because there's a few questions on some of your young talent here. Let's go for Foxy. Always says his eye on the young talent. He says he mentioned a youth player, Braden Graham, started the season to Mike. He's been keeping. Have you been keeping an eye on him? Another impressive season, 17 goals in 27 games for the under-18s, under-21s.
Yeah, listen, great season as you said there. Under-18s, under-21s. Scoring goals for fun. He's the only issue that Braden Graham's got is that he's small. So from a physical perspective, obviously, there's been Everton fans who've been saying, give him some first team minutes. He's been in the first team squad for the Sunderland FA Cup game, but we had no players, so he was on the bench for that. But in obviously the 18s and the 21s, he's been doing particularly well. He will obviously get stronger, but he's got a real eye for goal from 2 or 3 yards out to 20, 25 yards out. He scores a variety of goals, the kid. Look back, he scored a great goal. He scored 2 against Tottenham a few weeks ago away. One of them he went through and just chipped the keeper. Literally like a proper old-fashioned chip over a goalkeeper. Scored a stoppage time equaliser against Ipswich in the FA Youth Cup at Hill Dickinson the other week from about 20 yards out, like last kick of the game, to take us to extra time, and we got through that. He's a lovely footballer, but like any young player, it's hard to sort of say he's going to go on, he's going to do X, Y, or Z. He's got to probably get a loan next season and go and play men's football on a regular basis. I always say, because it's nothing like playing for the under-18s or under-21s is nothing like playing in, say, the Championship, League 1, League 2 against fully grown men who want to take your legs off because that's what they want to do, and it's totally different, and that's where you need to be blooded. And I'm sure we'll see it, but he's got, again, like Harrison Armstrong, all the attributes to be a top player. We know, small players can certainly make it. Some of the best players to ever play the game aren't particularly big, but he just needs to get a little bit sort of stronger maybe on the ball. But I'm sure we'll see a bit of him in pre-season. I'm sure he'll go away with the first team. And David Moyes will have a good look at him, and then he'll get hopefully a good move at a decent lower league club to go and learn his trade a bit more. But yeah, exciting player. great to see her play in the academy and in the 21s who's doing particularly well and scoring goals, because, you know, Everton have probably been stale in that department for a number of years, and we're starting to see, now obviously we'd like to say Harrison Armstrong as an example, and Braden Graham, these players now starting to come through and excite. So he'll be the next one, I'm sure, who we do see getting some kind of first team minutes in over the next sort of 12, 18 months or so.
And another young player to talk about, I think Geniesta is trying to get one up on Fox here, but he goes, why is new left back signing Adam Azuna, aka Yamal's best mate, not getting any minutes?
Yeah, I mean, he came in for semi-decent money, but what was it, maybe £7-8 million in the summer from Bayern Munich. He'd done particularly well. I think he was a loaner. It was a Valladolid at the back end of last season, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but he was definitely over in Spain. And he came in with a good reputation, but again, very young player, needs to grow physically. He came on against Sunderland in the FA Cup, won the penalty, came on the left wing. So a bit like Seamus Coleman when he first started out, didn't play him at right back, played him as a right winger to learn his trade. There's been a few question marks around attitude as well. David Moyes won't have it. If anyone questions him or doesn't show the right attitude, well, he'll be playing for me. So he hasn't been in the squad the last couple of games. So it's one of them. He's got to, he needs to play football like any player. So the question is, if you're going to bring him in and then not play him, well, let's get him alone, because there was a lot of incest around him in January, and he didn't go. But I think a lot of that was to do with the fact that we were short of players and we weren't too keen to sanction anything early. And as the month went on, we were losing more players and there were suspensions, and they just thought we'd keep him there. But I think it's again, he hasn't had much game time at all, other than that game against Sunderland in the FA Cup, being in the squad fairly often. But David Moyes is very, very hot on trust. And he's got to trust the player before he gives them the minutes and the game time. And I hope that he can, in pre-season, he can get a good run of games and settle in, and we see a bit more of him, because we're crying out for a left back. Michalenko's done fairly well, but he's not the answer. A new left back and new right back transform this Everton side, in my opinion. Is Asnu going to be the answer? We don't know. You've got to see how he develops. But if you've got to buy these kind of players, you've got to give them the time to develop. You can't just say, well, he's been here for 12 months, he's hardly played, let's get rid of him. Make sure you do the best by them as well. So basically the reason is a bit of lack of trust, poor attitude, and we'll see what happens as we enter the summer with him.
Right, Sophie's asked this question twice, so we better give it to you, Mike. How much will Njai go for in the summer?
How deep are your pockets? If you're going to come in for him, if you're coming in for him, Newcastle, it'll be about 120 million quid. I mean, he's going to be linked, isn't he? I think, as I say, he's come back from AFCON and he struggled a little bit with fatigue and things like that. But I think, again, World Cup, obviously Senegal have qualified for the World Cup on the big stage. If he has a decent World Cup, there are going to be more suitors for him. I'm sure there's plenty now. It's one of those. I think he was linked with Inter Milan side to get him in January. Actually, came in with a late bid that Everton didn't entertain. It was about 45 million euros, I think, something like that, which is far below our valuation of him. But he will be a player, as all sides do. Every side has got to sell. Obviously, you sell players for the highest price that you can get. He's a prized asset. We all love him. But if he's going to go, you're going north of £60 million, in my opinion. So if anyone wants to come and start a bidding more, then that's fine. But I think north of 60. Just again, age is young again, young player. Played quite a bit of football, from obviously Sheffield United, Marseille, ourselves. But a kid, who only a few years ago was playing non-league football, was for Boreham Wood. So it's a bit of a Cinderella story as well, isn't it? But he's a fabulous player. He's a proper throwback footballer in terms of the ability he's got with the ball at his feet, and he's a real exciting talent. So that costs money, and we got a great deal for him when we signed him. But yeah, it's going to be big money if we're going to entertain any kind of deal. But I'm not convinced that we're going to need to sell anyone for huge money in the summer, to be honest with you. I think the Freakins are quite keen to invest and throw quite a bit of money our way, because they want to see us obviously progress and start to challenge it for those European spots. But yeah, I think he'll stay, but everyone's got a price, as David Moyes always says. So what's his space?
I agree. I don't think he goes anywhere this summer, personally. And you only have to look at the fact that, sounds horrible to say, but we bought Elanga for 52 million, who wasn't worth that at that point in time. Now, Njai is a better player than Elanga, let's be clear. So you're looking at least that sort of figure as a starting point, to be honest. But for me, I don't think he leaves at all. Yeah. I think he'll stay at Everton, and I think he'll build on it for sure.
There's a good comment here from Keith Oliver. He says, all the Gordon stuff is compounded by the fact we sold Anderson and Minta instead of him. Then we also gave him a contract instead of the Rat, which unsettled the Rat. So it's an interesting. It was a good. That was back when we were talking about that.
That is an absolutely fantastic comment for lots of different reasons. And maybe Newcastle fans are starting to connect the dots about what happened over the last year and a half, and maybe that's why some of the frustrations are coming out. Not that it's warranted at this point, but maybe people are starting to realise what could have happened had we not have given him a new contract and had he been sold instead of. I go back to the point I said at the beginning of the season, lads. I said if we'd have sold Anthony Gordon when we did, in hindsight, we could have survived without him. But that would have meant keeping Alexander Isak and Elliot Anderson, and we maybe would have been in a better position now. It's all hindsight thought, but yeah, I think that's a really great point from Keith Oliver. So yeah, spot on.
Jono, I think it was Jono who alerted us to Nick Waltemada back in the middle of sometime at the end of last season or the transfer window anyway. But yeah, he mentions from Monaco, Alacuche, who played and scored and did very well against PSG as a potential Gordon replacement if we were to go down that road. That's something to consider.
It was a guy we brought up in the summer.
Yeah,
as someone that would have liked to have signed. I would love to have signed him, but I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked that nobody did. So I think he's one that absolutely will leave in the summer. So who knows? Let's see.
Two last questions, quick fire. Pete, you might know the answer to this. I think I've seen some rumors, rumblings of it. Is it March, sometime in March, for Tino to come back?
In the next couple of weeks. So Eddie Howe said early March. So obviously we're ticking into March in the next couple of days. So it could be as early as next week, but I would say I would put 2 weeks on it. So maybe let's say the same time as Louis Miney coming back, we'll probably get Tino Livramento back. That's what Eddie Howe had said his time frame was. They tried to shave a little bit of time off it, and he said they couldn't. But he said early weeks of March. So you're looking at the first 2 weeks. So ultimately, very, very soon, which is great.
Last question for Mike. And I know Tom is only trying to rise Mike here with this one, but he goes, Mike, if someone came in with a big offer for Pickford, would you consider it?
No, and you couldn't afford them. So don't worry about it.
We don't want it. We don't want it.
We have had this discussion last time. How much better he is than Nick Pope, Ramsdale. And to be honest with you, I think probably your best goalkeeper is John Ruddy, former Everton goalkeeper.
You're spoiling this now. Don't do this, mate. Come on.
No, I think, listen, Jordan Pickford said it. He signed his new deal a couple of months ago. He's going nowhere. The only place that Jordan Pickford will go when his contract is up, or the time comes that we have to replace, we'll be back to Sunderland. That's the only thing that I see. Whether that's as a first choice, second choice, whatever the time, wherever they are at the time, who knows? But he'll be at Everton for the vast majority of the last so many years of his career. So as I say, you'll see him in action live at the weekend. You can get to enjoy him in person, because I know obviously you do crave a good goalkeeper. So you'll see the best of the weekend. Don't worry about that, and don't be clipping this comment either, because if it goes past, if he makes a mistake, I don't want to see any clips of his comments going around social media.
Jurassic Park coming soon.
Love it.
Right, that is it for the questions. I think predictions. Chris gave us his prediction, wasn't 2-0. I think Chris said
2-0. I'm going to go 2-1. I think it'll be a really close game. The reason why I'm saying is to win is because we just have to. We've talked about how big these games are. We have to be winning these games at home. We've got 5 home games in a row, including obviously FA Cup, Champions League. We have to be winning these games at home, particularly in the Premier League. Everton at home, Man United at home straight after on Wednesday. And then later on in the month, we've got Sunderland at home. We have to be winning these games if we're going to be anywhere near where we want to be. So I don't think it's going to be easy. It's going to be tough. I think it might be battle of the set pieces, but our record is good at the moment, and maybe it will make the difference. But Mike, as the opposition fan, what are you going to go for come 5 o'clock Saturday evening?
I said on our podcast 1-1. I think we can certainly come away with something. We've got a decent away record, better away side than home side, like you said at the start of the show this season. Could be a battle of set pieces. I think someone said there, very much so. We as I said earlier, we'll sit and we'll be compact, and we'll look to hit you on the counter, very much like we did, with Brighton, with Fulham, with Villa. That kind of setup. So yeah, it'll be interesting, I'm sure. But it could surprise us. It could be a 3-0. Just never know. But yeah, it's going to be. I can see it being a decent game. We obviously we won the last game of last season. Obviously, Alcaraz got a goal, didn't he? And sadly, didn't cost you a Champions League place, which was the only downside of the day. But we've got a decent recent history, decent away side. So yeah, I can see us coming away with at least a point.
We were both happy last game of the season. We got Champions League. You got 3 points. What was wrong with that?
Such a shame that Emmy Martinez, he had never lived that down after what happened at Old Trafford when he got himself sent off. It's
the only time I've liked Emmy Martinez. The only time I've liked him for what he did there. But Daz, last prediction. Leave it with yourself. What you go for?
I'm also going 2-1 Newcastle. Land of the Giants. I think the set pieces will be very interesting on Saturday. I was going. Someone had it in the chat earlier. Dan Byrne to score, but I'm going to say Malik Chow again. He scored 2 the last time. He might get another this time. And with the winner, Flash Gordon with the winner, just to see it. If Carlsberg did Saturday afternoon kickoffs or 3 p.m. kickoffs, yeah, that'll be it for me.
Well, predictions are in, people. Let us know your predictions in as we wrap up the show. Look, Mike, it's always a pleasure.
Cheers, Mike.
We never do really match previews this long nowadays, so I appreciate you taking the time for joining us, but we make an exception for fantastic guests, and you are absolutely one of them. So great to have you on.
Much appreciated, and I'll be back Saturday if we win. I'll be back in the comments Saturday if we win. If we don't, you won't hear from me until we play next season.
If you don't, we're going to be calling you on Saturday. So feel free to pick up the phone. But great guest as always. Just let everyone know where they can find you and where they can subscribe to you.
YouTube, we're on there. We do a bit on there now. I do a little Friday weekly news show on there as part of the podcast. Little quick fire one. So we're on YouTube at UHT Podcast, X at UHT Podcast, Instagram at UHT Podcast Everton. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on Blue Sky. Anyway, just say I don't think anyone else is called the Unholy CNC Everton Podcast. And if they are, I'll be going in with a trademark claim against them anyway, so they'd be from our lose. But I've never found us to this day.
Love it. Well, we've got 500 people watching, So make sure you go and subscribe and catch all the preview and the reviews of the game on Saturday. Sorry, Daz, what were you going to say?
Yeah, the link is in the hyperlink in the show description, so you'll find it there. Very easy to go in and just click that subscribe button. That's it. We'll see you for the reaction show. Probably, I think it'll be early one this week, 5 p.m. on Saturday for that one. So a different approach for us. Thanks, Mike, again. See you later.
Cheers, lads. Speak to you soon.
Take care.
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. Joking how? Everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over. Say, lose yourself in the music, the moment you own it, you better never let it go. You only get one shot, do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself in the music, the music, the music, the music, the music, the music.